Hey everyone, so today we're going to go over how to set an SSID on the Uplevel gateway to its access point. You'll see here on the landing page of your dashboard that you can see all of your customers and any sites that are located within them. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the configure button of the site where I want to configure an SSID. You'll then notice you are then presented with an overview page where you'll see all of the different services that are located within the gateway itself and their security groups. You can also see at the top any access points that are plugged in, like this one over here, as well as anything else that's going on in the gateway. So any ports that are pulled for management purposes, like the uplink, access points, switches, so on and so forth. If I go into the Wi-Fi tab on the left, I can then come in and click this add button to create new SSIDs. So that means all of the SSIDs will broadcast on that one access point that's plugged in. So you'll notice I already have an SSID up here called SSID, but I will go ahead and create a new Wi-Fi over here with a password there. And then I can also associate it with a security group. So I can come in, select from this drop-down menu which security group I want it to be a part of, and click Save. You will notice that the gateway will restrict you to one SSID per security group, so one entry point for Wi-Fi per security group as needed. But same goes for that guest network down at the bottom. This is also where you can come in and create a guest network SSID if you need to. Those will be located outside of the firewall, completely segregated out from the network and unprotected. So I can go in and create a guest network here with the guest password. And I can also come in and limit the bandwidth both up and down based on how much bandwidth you'd like the guests to be able to use. That is for the entire guest network. So it limits the entire guest network's bandwidth limitations down to whatever you specify there. So that is going to be your guest network SSID. Down at the bottom, you'll also see a configure access points option. If you click on this, you'll be able to configure those access points, which ranges that they're broadcasting on, what those transmitting powers of those ranges are, so on and so forth. As soon as an access point is plugged into the Uplevel gateway, you'll automatically see those access points appear. They will automatically configure. So you'll see all of them up at the top. They will be denoted by their factory name, which will be an animal and a number, but you'll see any access points that are plugged in will appear both in the 2.4 and the 5 gig ranges. So if I click on that access point, like I said, there's only one and it's broadcasting in both of those ranges. I can click on it to come in and disable that range. So if I want to force devices onto the 5 gig range only, I can disable the 2.4 gig range here. I can also specify which channel that 2.4 broadcasts on. You'll notice that we do limit that down to only the non-overlapping channels automatically. And then you can also come in and reboot the access point independently if needed as well. Same goes for that 5 gig range, all of those same options there with all of those channels accordingly as well. And then down at the very bottom, you'll notice you have the ability to come in and change the transmitting power for those access points if you want to influence clients onto one channel versus the other, as opposed to forcing them onto one channel versus the other, but via those transmitting powers. And then down at the very bottom, you'll see an advanced option where you can come in and change the channel width of that 5 gig range. So you can come in and change it both to 20, 40, or 80 megahertz, depending on the specific deployment scenario and where those access points are located and where they'll best broadcast. And then you'll also see an optimization level. Optimizing for maximum compatibility means that all devices, regardless of legacy, will still connect and be able to connect to the internet and the Wi-Fi connection, as opposed to maximum performance, which will kick off legacy devices and not allow them to connect to the SSID. So if you have a legacy device that's trying to connect to the SSID and for some reason just won't connect, you'll get some sort of error like the SSID isn't responding or cannot access point or something along those lines. It's probably a performance issue. So if you have optimization levels set to maximum performance, it will kick off legacy devices and no longer allow them to connect. You can always get more information about this just pressing explain to see what exactly legacy devices are and clients are getting kicked off. Once all of that is done, you'll then have your SSIDs. All of those SSIDs will broadcast over multiple VLANs and subnets, so you will need to be mindful of which group they are connected to. Those SSIDs will all broadcast from a single access point. Those access points will hand off from one another as you walk around the office, so if you have more than one access point, you will be able to walk around without losing connection. And most importantly, all of those access points, again, will broadcast both the 2.4 and the 5 gig ranges, respectively, under a single SSID. So keep all of that in mind.